I watched the alien commander awkwardly pace the length of the room. His species' natural height made standing up straight impossible aboard our ships, so it had to hunch over as it walked. This was the first time a non-human allied species was allowed onto an active warship of any human faction, so it was probably being weighed down by the stress of all the political pressure from his government. Humanity had mostly kept to itself. Former nations of Earth had spread out in the galaxy, never fully unified like most science fiction stories. There was no Federation or United Earth fleets. There were simply a lot of human factions. What outsiders didn't know was almost all of them held a very specific treaty, a defensive alliance only to be called upon if a non-human declared war on a member nation. And that had just happened for the first time. The United Extraplanetary Systems of North America, also known as UEA, had trade agreements with a small but highly advanced civilization known as the Cols. There wasn't a military pact, but in the event of war, either side could supply weapons and munitions to the embattled people. Well, the Cols' newest aggressor, the Grell, saw human munitions being fired against them, so they declared war on the UEA, which in turn brought 80% of humanity into the fight. I continued to watch the Null representative pace the room when my counterpart in the Marines entered the room. He took his cover off and walked slowly to the table, eyeing both me and the alien. "Captain Temple, Commandant Verrill, sorry to keep you waiting." "It is no issue, Colonel. I wasn't waiting long, and thank you both for allowing me on your vessel," Verrill said through his translation device. "I understand that you are busy, not only with the war against the Growl, but with the war against the other human nation of East Asian expansions." "Oh, no, that war is on pause. We will resume that after these Grell are dealt with," I add, after shaking Colonel Venture's hand. "I do not understand. How could you put a war on hold? Wouldn't the other force just use this as an opportunity to invade you?" Verrill asked, a very confused look on his face. Venture let out a short laugh. "Not if they want to be part of the Defense Accords." Verrill looked even more confused at that comment. "You fight a war with people you have a defensive alliance with?" I smiled as I continued the explanation. "Humanity is by no means unified. In fact, almost every shot we've fired after leaving Earth has been at another human. However, back in the day, a lot of us signed a species defensive alliance. If an outside entity attacked any one of us, the rest would come help remove them. And honestly, most conflicts involving other humans don't even get that bad. We try and keep the deaths down to a few million, and we never use the real weapons. Kinda like training." Verrill looked taken aback by that. "You train your warriors by putting them against one another?" "Sort of. It's not official training. It's just nothing teaches quite like experience. And besides, the wars we fight still see changes in territory and position. It's just we don't have to worry about someone going full genocide on another human. We still abide by the Geneva Convention, where certain weapons are banned for use against human life. I emphasize human life. No one will be holding anything back against the Grell." I could see Verrill still didn't understand, but that was fine. I barely understood human politics, and I've been living with them my whole life. What kind of weapons do you hold in reserve for non-humans? Wouldn't new weapons being used be a disadvantage for those trained on other devices? Oh, not at all. See, weapon platforms are still the same. We use the same ships, launchers, guns, tanks, and fighters. It's just the warheads, ammunition, edges, and chemicals used are more aggressive, Venture added. Against EAE, we use non-fission warheads, like what we call conventional explosives, but the process of launching a ship-to-ship missile is the same, be they combustion, nuclear, a flood of nanites, or graviton. Anyway, that's not important right now. What is important is the news I was told to pass along. I've got word that 7 nations have agreed to send naval assets to the front lines. We will have roughly 28 fleets, numbering roughly 560 ships of the line, including 5 Dreadnought-class warships, I say, trying to move the meeting along. And as for the ground forces, 9 nations will be sending assets. I think we should be getting all types of armor artillery, mechanized infantry, war droids, general infantry, orbital drop troopers, and we might even get some of the cyborgs from the Brits, Venture added, his voice all business now that we were talking about why we were here. In total, it will be just short of 90 million bodies. More are available if the fighting grows too bad. Verrill took an involuntary step back, his pale grey skin turning blue. Are you positive those numbers are correct? I am. We would have been able to get more, we probably still will, but this is very short notice for us, I say, looking at my data screen. You misunderstand. Those numbers are twice what we had available at the start of the conflict, and we were even in numbers with the Grell. That may be, but from what we can see, the Grell didn't send everything they had, so we had to be ready for resistance being dug in when we make our push into their worlds, Venture said. Your push into their worlds? Well, yes. They declared war on us. We have to show the galaxy that fighting us is not in their best interests. I think people have forgotten that we don't like war, which is mostly likely due to all our fighting within. But you see, humanity as a whole wants peace. We are just bad at it. I like to think that we fight amongst ourselves to keep our innate violence from burning the rest of the beings in the galaxy to cinders. I responded for Venture. You say you like peace, but you're bad at it? But won't your people be wary of conflict then? You've been fighting a different war every time our people have met for council. Not at all. A few million lives lost, a planet or two changing hands for a while aren't wars. Conflicts maybe, more like skirmishes. And those skirmishes are just a way to keep our blades sharp.